Very good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. I'm Jeffrey Ozong. As always, it's a brand new week towards the end of the month. And just like that, Bukola, December is almost here. It's
upon us.
Wow.
It was just months ago that we were counted down to the 1st of January 2025. But we're back in the grind. It's the 27th of October. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. It's good to be back after what appeared to have been a dramatic weekend, but all for the best. And so what happened over the weekend? Of course, we Nigerians woke up to news about the reorganization in the top hierarchy of the military. And, you know, following that, developments have since commenced. And of course, there are other things, you know, to also trail. The National Association of Resident Doctors have announced their decision to begin a strike on the 31st of October, 2025, from 11:59 p.m. on Friday, to be precise. And what are some of their key demands? Let's go through some of them yet again. They're looking at CONMES, the immediate payment of salary and allowance arrears, such as the Consolidated Medical Salary Structure and the Medical Residency Training Fund, MRTF. They're looking at allowance payment, disbursement of 2024 accoutrement allowance, salary structure review, working conditions and welfare, working hours, directing members to stop working more than 24 consecutive hours. There's also the demand of professional recognition, civil service status, and that key demand of addressing the brain drain by immediate recruitment of more manpower into the health sector. And they're also demanding improvement in infrastructure because of the poor working conditions in the hospitals. So these are just some of the demands by the National Association of Resident Doctors. And Jeffrey, just weeks ago, we were talking about the demands of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, and that, you know, was shaped by continuing conversations, disagreements over those key gray areas between the federal government and, you know, the association. Of course, the House of Representatives has since intervened, but the key issue is how soon will the demands be addressed? How soon will also the demands of the National Association of Resident Doctors be addressed, such that we're not back here talking about the same demands?
There's nothing wrong with going on strike. It's part of industrial action when plea bargain and all of that has failed in unionism and all of that. But when it's becoming too repetitive, it's becoming absolutely disturbing. And to an extent, you may not blame the doctors because for them, according to them, they've been patient, they've been doing the work as far as their oath is concerned to be able to serve the people. At the end of the day, it is the Nigerian citizens, the people of Nigeria that will suffer. Resident doctors, they constitute perhaps the majority in terms of the number of doctors in hospitals across board. We have senior doctors like consultants and specialists and all of the people who teach them and people above up the line. But these are the ones that you see literally everywhere, the ones that are easy to access, whether it's at a primary healthcare center, that is at there, whether it's at a tertiary level, general hospital, even cottage, or whatever levels of tertiary hospital as the health sector is concerned, you find them there in the private and the public sector. So when we see these things repeating over and over, it's becoming a bit tiring and a bit boring. As I said at the very beginning, there is absolutely nothing wrong with going on strike as long as the reasons are legitimate. It's within the confines of the law. But I want to plead with the Tinubu administration, just like we plead with every other administration, that people like doctors, the police, and the teachers, let me say it again, doctors, security agencies, and teachers, as much as possible, the government has to do something drastic to ensure that they stay at work. Remember when we're talking to the ASU president, who became ASU president not too long ago. And I had to ask him that question. Part of what you're demanding for, if we calculate the sum, how much is this money? And the man did the analytics here and said it's about 9 billion or so, less than 10. What is 10 billion naira to Nigerian government? That's just, it's almost infinitesimal. It's nothing. It's almost like no, that is no money at all. But because of that, besides all other reasons and all other confluences that they look at to be able to embark on a strike, they go on a strike. I don't think it's good for us sometimes. And these are critical sectors, Bukola. That's why yes, it's good to talk about GDP. But I feel that in developing economies like Nigeria, we should focus more on HDI, Human Development Index. That's why we're talking about health, we're talking about education, lifespan, and all of the many, many other basic things that used to measure people's quality of life and quality of living, not just macroeconomic numbers in terms of GDP, which is great in itself. When it rallies, it shows that, okay, the economy is working and people are getting jobs. But besides all of that, our teachers, our doctors, our security agencies, these are the parameters I think we should use to measure. So for me, it's not, I don't even want to blame anybody. I just want to appeal to everybody, the doctors, an appeal, the government, an appeal. The government has to help to stop this menace. I don't know, it's like, if there's no strike in any 1 year of an administration, it's like that administration hasn't even started. I know they inherited some of these things, so we can't put everything on their table, but government is a continuum. So it has to stop. It has to stop. But besides all of that, Dangote refinery, Dangote is, the man is becoming literally unstoppable. Whilst we're talking about 650 barrel per day refinery that he's had this back and forth with union leaders, Pengasan and all of that. Well, the man says, well, we are battling, you know, the internal issues of the sector. I have bigger plans. I want to go big because I didn't come to go small and go home. So the biggest refinery, I think, is in India. I think the Ambani family, about 1 million barrels per day or 1.1 or so. So Dangote says he wants to double what he has now to go big, literally. So this, if this goes through, and we pray it does because it's good for our economy, there are two aspirations Nigeria has as far as energy sector is concerned. The big aspirations are to be the energy security, simply means that since we have crude oil and the natural resources, if anything happens around the world, and we, for whatever reason, we're importing anything that has to do with crude and all of that and petroleum products, we will be good, at least for the time being. Then, net exporter of petroleum product, which is already happening with Dangote refinery. But on the other side, again, we're also importing PMS. Funny. So, congratulations to him. We want bigger things like this to happen. But we want to appeal again, Bukola, to him that monopoly is lurking. So he should do this with carrying the entire sector along, because the way it's so big, it comes to the bigger end of the stick. There's nothing you can do than to negotiate with the man to see what it can. But that means if anything goes wrong, if we become energy secured through Dangote refinery, net exporter of petroleum product through Dangote refinery, if anything goes wrong with the Dangote refinery, we're cooked. And that's not good. So where are all the big men in Nigeria? The man has used his money to build this capacity. So I don't know whether refinery is a good business in the world anyway, but for us, those two big broad pictures that the federal government and the government has is being met by this gentleman. So we thank him, but we just prayed, I will just appeal to him to play by the rules of the game, carry everybody along so that all this thing is doing will not be frustrated, because they can frustrate him. Trust me, they can if they want to. But we support him wholeheartedly, and we appeal to other people to also put their money where their mouth is. $20 billion also is the first 65 megawatt
650,000 barrels
650, sorry, 650,000 barrels per day capacity. If he doubles this, then we're beginning to have a seat on the table, at least energy-wise.
Indeed, it's very heartwarming news. But the question really is, at what cost to Nigeria? And first of all, we must commend the leadership of the refinery. We heard Alhaji Dangote yesterday say that, of course, 85,000 85% rather of the workforce will be drawn from the indigenous population, and that is very heartwarming. It's reassuring, particularly against the backdrop of, just a few months ago, disagreement, the standoff between the refinery management and Pengasen staff. So we were assured that in this new era of expansion as announced by the refinery, the majority of the workforce will be drawn from Nigerians. But the question is, this expansion, at what cost will it be ultimately to the final consumer of petroleum products? We've seen an astronomical increase in the pump price of petrol since 2023, May 2023, and it's not coming down. So against the backdrop of this announcement, how much, crude oil will Dangote Refinery now be purchasing from Nigeria? Is there going to be an increase, or will there be, an importation component of the balance of the crude required to shore up the capacity of the refinery? We know that there is the Naira for Crude agreement between the refinery and the federal government of Nigeria. So at what cost? If the importation component is covered for the balance of the crude required for the expansion, so will it mean that if there is an importation, that would mean that there will be an increase in the pump price of petrol, and of course other products in the value chain as well, particularly diesel as well, which is in high demand for industrialization in the country? Those are the key questions, because energy security has not particularly guaranteed energy affordability for Nigerians, and we must keep, ensuring that we make the point resound to the federal government that these reforms have been, a rather bitter pill for Nigerians to swallow. It has shored up increase in every other commodity that is in the value chain of the economy, and Nigerians are suffering. The Nigerians have not particularly been the better of it, and all other macroeconomic indicators that have been announced as improved has not guaranteed comfort for Nigerians. So those are the key issues, because petrol is a very key commodity, and when the pump price of petrol increases, every other Nigerian catches cold, as we say in this country. But it is cheering news, and it also shows prosperity, for the refinery, which has improved Nigeria's status as a key exporter now of petroleum products. We're not just exporting petrol in this new era, Jeffrey. We're also exporting aviation fuel, jet A1 fuel, and
is the entire family petroleum products.
So in the value chain. So we're very proud of being that country that has produced a domestic refinery such as Dangote. But we just hope that it will all go well for Nigerians in the long run.
I'm just asking that the sector should not frustrate the sector should not frustrate him. They have to come together for national development. That is the whole idea. I know that at some point we did 1.5. I like to count our crude oil, because that's what OPEC counts, not crude oil and condensate. It's not bad to add condensate, but I like to count only what OPEC recognizes. Crude oil, last month we came down in the numbers. September we didn't do too well. We did 1.3. The previous month I think we did 1.4. And then there were 2 months before that consistently we did 1.5, 1.5. So if we average it, perhaps going to annualize, if it stays that way, we'll be doing a range of 1.35, 1.4 million barrels per day, which is insufficient to be able to meet our domestic crude supply as put together by the PIA. So inevitably, this simply means that Dangote may or will or has been importing crude oil, maybe WTI, because his refinery it can distillate literally anything. So that will, I know, Bukola, you're big on the energy cost. No, what did you call it? There's a name. I like the way you put it. And is it energy cost? Was it energy security, net exporter? There's something called it energy cost, Sabi?
Energy affordability.
I like that.
I like that. The point that you also made is significant. Amid all of this, it is sad that Nigeria is still importing petrol.
No, That one, when we don't want to enter there because there's politics in that one as well. There's also politics in that one. So we'll be fine eventually because the argument of those people is to the effect that there cannot just be one source of supply, just one supplier into the market. In case anything goes wrong with that supplier, what happens? But the argument is if we already have capacity to refine, why are we importing? We're going to keep going back and forth because those guys, they've made investment, they've made commitment over time. I'm sure eventually that may stop. But for now, boys have to survive, I guess. That's why I don't want to go to that direction. But guys, that's
what do we have, first of all, today?
Yes, let's tell you what we have. A couple of things we have for you today. First up, we'll be talking about the change in service chiefs. What really happened? Is this related to the alleged coup that happened or that was about to happen? God forbid it won't happen. Say amen to that.
Amen.
We can never go back to that era. Okay, does this have anything to do with that alleged coup? Or there is ideological disagreement between the government and the military? What exactly is going on? We have heard all sorts. Security experts will be right here to help us analyze what they know, what they've seen, and what we should be expecting from the new sheriffs in town.
And that's not all. We talked to residents of Oworo community in Lagos. The demolitions, it appears, have not subsided yet. The last 48 hours, the residents have been groaning beneath the weight of yet another mass demolition of about 100 houses in their community. They'll be talking to us about the implications of this, particularly against the backdrop of a court order that was supposed to stay action on the demolitions by the Lagos state government. So we'll hear them out today on the program.
Fantastic. And of course, Nigeria is off that. Okay, before we go to that, we will talk politics, opposition politics. And guess who we'll be talking about? The People's Democratic Party. We'll be in focus yet again. Our guests will be right here to talk about what's really played out. The National Convention of the People's Democratic Party is just weeks away. But what is really playing out in internal politics within the political party, you don't want to know. We'll find out exactly what is going on the program today.
And Nigeria has exited the FATF grey list that is supposed to tackle financial crimes. The implication of this is that reforms at home have caused Nigeria to be taken off of that list on the FATF. So what are the implications for this exit, particularly on governance reforms and investment from the international community? We'll be talking to the experts today on the program.
The SEC DG will be our guest on the program to explain all of that. The grey list is just before the blacklist, Bukola. So if you're off the grey list, that's a good thing. So we congratulate Nigeria on that. But they will tell us what this means in terms of investor sentiment, the economic growth spectrum, and all of the way the world perceives us from outside in. That is how we want to explore that conversation today. What exactly happened that we're off that list? When we talk about money laundering, issues of illicit financial flows, they watch you when you're on that grey list. But now that you're exiting that grey list, that means certain things are being done right. We want to build on that. But we'll take a break. Not a break exactly, just a moment to be back. Mr. Dayakin, to be a public affairs analyst, is right here to break it down for us, some of the dailies and what they're saying. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. So time now to review the papers, and our public affairs analyst, Mr. Dayo Akitobi, joins us today on the program. Good morning, Mr. Akitobi.
Good morning,
You look
Bukola.
set for the week.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
It's a good Monday morning.
It's good to have you.
Good morning,
and we hope you
Jeff.
had a splendid weekend.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the Vanguard newspaper this morning, and it focuses on the economy. Take a look at the headline. NECA, Man, Nasima reject Senate's NSITF takeover, warn against politicization of workers' fund, say move to amend act threatens transparency, violates ILO's convention. So there you have it, Mr. Akitobi.
Well, anytime you have a pool of money sitting somewhere, anywhere in the world, where you have like pension funds that are massive and are amassed somewhere and are parked in a place where they're not needed for a long period of time. There's a tendency for governments to look at that and dip their hand in the trough. Even in America, where they have something called a 401k program, most pensioners are always concerned about whether they will actually see that money, because by the time they retire, government has had cause to dip its fingers into the till. And so essentially the fear about this NSITF, about government takeover of that fund, is simply that how do we assure that the money will be there when the recipients need it? And truth be told, the Pension Act that was passed many years ago, and things about private money being in public hands for a lengthy period of time, essentially, it's tempting when government needs money to cover running costs, to cover whatever the case may be, and you see a pool of money parked somewhere that is not immediately needed. It's easy to just write an IOU. Remember ways and means. You write an IOU, you toss it in there, and you say you'll come back to it sometime in the future. And that's why you see pensioners crying every day about not getting paid or not getting paid in time. Why is there such a lag between when you retire and when you get your severance package? It's because there's a lot of juggling that has to take place to make sure the money is available to those who need it when they need it. And so I don't blame MAN and NECA and all of the other agencies that protect workers' rights. I don't blame them at all for fighting against this idea of a government takeover of those funds, because it will be deleterious to the welfare of workers whose money it is to begin with.
So one is wondering why, I know you've listed some of the sentiments that surround the decision to always look at quote and unquote idle funds when money can be used for whatever it is. But sometimes government has not been a responsible spender.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they can be aggressive and optimal in their aggregation of funds, expanding the net, you know, just like we're going to have an era coming in 2026, which everybody's bracing for, the new tax law and all of the elements that come with it. But it's the spending that is always the difficult conversation we'll have, whether they are making emotionally intelligent spending, or they are just being outrightly reckless, or they are just somewhere in between. So this fund, the NSITF, is basically for, sometimes for an insurance for workers who are still working. So do you justify the fact that once in a while government can touch it, or they should just stay clear entirely?
Well, there's responsible borrowing.
And how is it practiced?
You said there's responsible spending. There's also responsible borrowing. There's nothing wrong with dipping into those funds if they're not needed at the moment. Like you said, it's an insurance fund. Basically, it's a fallback in the event of something unexpected. So it's not like the funds are really needed at this point in time. It's a nest egg put aside somewhere. So there's responsible borrowing. I've always been of the opinion that government can borrow, first of all, if what it is using the money for is something that is critical, infrastructure, funding, things like health, education, key things like social safety nets. If government spends the money responsibly and it's transparent in what it does with the money, there's nothing wrong with it, as long as it knows it can pay it back as and when due, which is essentially what becomes a problem, is that when it's time to give it back, when it is needed by those who saved into the fund, most of the time it's not generally available when they need it. So responsible spending, you said, but responsible borrowing also, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, because this government has done record number of revenue. It's been long I saw revenue in Naira terms because of all the wage bill they took themselves out of. Sometimes 2 trillion, and that they have to hold back because of money supply in the system to avoid inflation. There's also record borrowing as well. There's also record spending. There's record everything in this government. So, but let's stay with the Vanguard that Bukola has talked about, because I don't think other papers have this header, but I wanted you to speak. We started off with it. Dangote expanding his refinery capacity to 1.4 million barrels per day. It's going to beat. I try to remember the name of that refinery. I'll Google it. But it's in India, owned by the Ambani family. one of the richest, I think one of the richest men in Asia.
Yes.
That's where we have I think they are doing about 1.2 or so million barrels per day. But the big boy in Nigeria, the richest black man in the world, says it's time to go big. What do you make of it?
Well, I like the fact that he dreams big. I think we need more vision.
And invest locally.
Well, yes, I was coming to that. But first of all, you have to have a dream. And this man doesn't have infinitesimal dreams. He dreams big. And you can see the effect of dreaming big. I wish we had many big dreamers, because that would turn around our fortunes. And I remember once, in the community where I live, we were trying to build a community center in this very small piece of land. And one of the people in the audience said, why don't we think out of the box? We don't have the space, why don't we go up? And everyone said, a community center that's several skyscrapers. She said, yes, and put a swimming pool on the upper deck. And the sheer audacity of the idea is kind of what I see Dangote doing, is the fact that you can dream big. Of course, he's got the money, he's got the financial wherewithal, he's got the credit capability to borrow, to finance dreams. So maybe we have a lot more dreamers in Nigeria, but who don't have the wherewithal to make it happen. But it all starts with a dream. And I think that one thing we must commend Mr. Dangote for is the fact that it started with a dream. He didn't let it end with a dream. He carried it on through all the way to implementation. And look at what it does for Nigeria. It guarantees energy security. He says in 3 years, he would double the capacity of this refinery to where it will be the largest in the world. Apart from what that does for us in terms of street credibility and bragging rights, look at what it does for us economically. I mean, Jeff has already listed all the fact that, there's foreign exchange benefits, there's energy security for us as well. But I also look at it and I say, if one man can single-handedly almost turn around the economy of this country, because a lot of the economic gains we are seeing now are based on the fact that now he's exporting his fuel. So we're getting more foreign exchange from what he's selling overseas. That is stabilizing the naira. It's helped us pay off foreign debt. It has reduced what we owe other people. It has made foreign exchange cheaper to purchase. One man. So if we had 10 Dangotes in this country, imagine where our economy would be at this point in time. So I know there's some worry about the consolidation of so much economic power in the hands of one man. That what happens if something goes wrong? What happens if, God forbid, he decides he's not selling to us anymore, he wants to export his stuff to maximize his profit? I think that it's more important that he does this and he carries stakeholders along to where we both have a vested interest in the success of this refinery, and we want to support him in every way we can, as citizens, as governments, as private business, even the marketers, the unions that have been at loggerheads with him. If all of us fall in line with him, I believe it'll be even easier for him to relate with us on a level where it'll be a win-win for everybody. And let's encourage more dreamers to come out.
Yeah, I know there's another one coming up I think in a pipe bomb by a review.
Yes.
The other billionaire himself.
Yes.
I was looking through the Forbes list. Was this Forbes list? I was looking through the Forbes list of richest black people.
Yes.
And I was glad to see that 4 Nigerians.
Yes.
Dangote, of course, leads that park.
Yes.
Of course, Rabi Musa is there too as well.
Yes.
And he's also building, I think, another refinery somewhere in Akwa.
And there's also word that the meeting that Mr. Ogunlesi and Hakeem Bello Osage had with the president a few weeks ago was in relation to building another Dangote-sized refinery somewhere in Nigeria. If that is true, that is good news. It means Nigeria is going places.
So, I want to assure you that your petrol will be 200 naira. I'm just joking.
I can't wait.
Jeffrey, Mr. Kitobi, if we're here belly aching about the worry of a monopoly and the inability of other investors to rise to the occasion and rival Dangote, we should also be talking about our poor managerial ability. Where is Port Harcourt refinery, despite $1.5 billion dollar maintenance? Where is Warri refinery? Where is Kaduna refinery? I believe those critical issues that we all should also be talking about as well, and we should never tire of talking about. Else, monopoly will just carry the economy, and then we'll be back where we were before. But God forbid that happens. So we hope that the conversations about new refineries will, be progressive. But earlier on, we were talking about, record borrowing and responsive borrowing. Take a look at the Guardian newspaper. 767 local government areas without active websites amid autonomy. 3 trillion naira yearly windfall. And there's a breakdown there if you look further. LG's digital footprint. Local government areas have received 8.93 trillion naira since 2023. 8.93 trillion naira. Questions about transparency, accountability over stunted digitalization. Expert put Nigeria's 15-year digital growth at 17% and rural internet access restricted to 23%. Yes, we know that there are concerns with some local governments that have not received their funds, but amid all of this, isn't this worrying about, again, government's poor expenditure management?
Well, first remember that internet penetration is quite scanty across the country at this time. We've not been able to build a robust backbone just yet. But let's remember that for too many years, local governments have been relegated into almost a comatose state. So they're not experienced, they're not well versed in this notion of administrative management, and they're just starting to now get funds directly. I think it'll take a bit of time before they get up to speed in terms of where they need to be. No serious business in Nigeria today exists without its own website. So how can you even imagine? I mean, just before the IG put a stop to the tinted glass permit, I actually went online to go and apply for mine, and you'd be amazed at this website that the police have to be able to do your tinted permit without seeing anybody. You can actually even upload your biometrics from your living room on your laptop. So the digital evolution is something that we can't escape from, and it's something that simplifies lives in such a way. But I don't think we should be too hard on the local governments just yet, because 2023 to 2025 is 2 years of trying to cure 3 decades of malaise, and they've been almost comatose. All they were doing was collecting salaries because the governors fiddled with their funds to the point that what eventually trickled down to them enabled them to do little or nothing. So they were just existing in name only, they were not functional. So I think over time, they will catch up with the digital revolution, because now all eyes are on them, because we now know that they get their money directly. So in my community, we've set up a little committee that questions the chairman. We know you got so much money. What did you do with it? Why is this road bad? Why is this gutter overflowing? Why has this refuse not been picked up? And I think more and more communities will start to do that, whereby they interrogate their local government chairman. They're the closest to us. He's on the local government headquarters on the next road to you. So fantastic. You can easily get to your chairman and ask him to explain.
I think the simple rule of thumb here should be that every local government should have a proper website.
They will get
where we can see the money dashboard.
They will get there.
Let me tell you the truth, Mr. Akintobi. Where money is stolen the most, sometimes not from FAC allocation. We know they steal that one. It's also from IGR.
How many local governments are generating IGR?
How many states in Nigeria have a place where we can go and see their IGR dashboard? So we do aggregation and just assumption of numbers.
The states took
apart from Lagos.
The states took away all the means of IGR of the local government.
We're totally out of time.
Bless you, Mr. Akintobi. We should also be asking how many states did not negotiate the Supreme Court ruling on local government autonomy and actually allowed the smooth transfer to the accounts of the local government, because there were state assemblies that began to negotiate that law, and we can mention a few of those
I think we'll mainstream that conversation sometime soon.
Yes,
Mr. Akintobi, thank you so much. There's people I wanted us to look at, but the producer said we're totally out of time.
Yes,
Where indigents of the FCT are asking Tinubu to declare Wike sole administrator. I don't know what kind of ludicrosity, absurdity is happening in
Jeffrey, you're introducing new words into the dictionary.
No, I
must thank you very much, Mr. Akintobi.
My pleasure.
He's a very dependable public affairs analyst. Thank you for coming through on this one. Always a delight to have you on the program.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Indeed. And so we'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll begin the very first leg of our conversation. It's security and the shake-up in the top hierarchy of the military. Stay with us for this one, just ahead.
Welcome back. Let's talk about what happened or what played out just a few days ago when the president, Bola Tinubu, did a bit of a shake-up in the military hierarchy and has changed the chief of defense staff, and now the former chief of army staff is now the new chief of defense staff, and there are other persons, top officers who have now been promoted and occupying new positions. What really played out? Because this started with the rumor about an alleged coup that failed, and certain officers were being questioned. Well, the DHQ denied that there was no such thing. People have said their statement looks funny. Perhaps it really happened, but it failed. We do not know. They are the government. They know better. And not too long after, we saw that the president has changed the hierarchy of the military. So what is it that we're missing out here, and what does this portend for national security and the future of Nigeria? Well, the men who have answers, perhaps, are right here with us. Two security consultants. First is Kabiru Adamu, MD, Beacon Security and Intelligence Limited, and of course, Onyeka Adekoya is a security consultant, both joining us virtually. Gentlemen, we're glad that you could join us this morning. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having us. Good morning.
Mr. Adamu,
thank you for having us.
Yeah, Mr. Adamu, let me start with you. I'd like to start with your characterization and interpretation of what has played out in the last 1 week within the military and the action of the federal government.
Quite interesting, actually, Jeffrey. The changes were largely unexpected. That if you look at the metrics that point to the successes or not of security situation, we had started seeing indicators of success within the security space. In other words, one of the key measurements for success is the fatality rate. And as from May 2025, we had started seeing a dip. We started the year at about 1,000 deaths per month. It peaked at about 1,300 in April 2025. But then by September, ending September, it had dipped to about 580 thereabout. So clearly, it was improving. Now, the second thing is, of course, the most significant indicator of stability within the military establishment is their ability, as it were, to subject themselves to civilian oversight. And given what is happening within the Sahel region, the fact that about 4 countries at the moment are governed by military juntas, the fact that it could happen in Nigeria was something that was always out there. And then unfortunately, around 1st October, the news emerged that certain military personnel had been arrested and that it was tied to an attempt or a plan to commit or carry out a coup d'etat in Nigeria. And then, of course, the second indicator was the cancellation of the March parade on October 1st. Although the reasons given were not tied to that attempt, several reports, both open and classified, indicated that perhaps there was a connection between the two. And so when the change happened, of course, the charter continued that it was related to that military attempt. And then, of course, when you look at the personalities involved and then the new ones that have been appointed, it also pointed to the fact that perhaps the political class, especially the president in this instance, is attempting to strengthen loyalty, mainly because of the ethnic affinity involved here. The chief of defense staff, who was the former chief of army staff, is of course with the same ethnic affinity like the president. So that also emerged. Within the military establishment itself, the concern which is usually associated with such changes also emerged, which is the fact that several generals now will have to go, mainly because of the seniority issue that emerged as a result of this. So these were some of the thoughts that came into my head after the appointment. With regards to whether it would impact significantly the national security enterprise, not really. the persons appointed are merely going to probably tinker with tactical or operational issues. They don't have much influence with regards to strategic issues within the security space, mainly because they are not at that level, at that strategic level. Those who are at that level will be probably the Minister of Defense, the National Security Advisor, Minister of Police Affairs, and the several others. So to that extent, we hope to see continuity. Like I said, if the numbers are improving, then it means with the military establishment with regards to their welfare, with regards to equipment. Till date, as we're talking, Jeffrey, it pains me that our soldiers are still moving in light-skinned vehicles in the front line. In other words, if a bad guy shoots at them with an AK-47, that AK-47 can pierce through the vehicle and kill them. Very few of them are in APCs and all of that. So we're hoping that that aspect will be looked at. In terms of the positive areas that the exiting service chiefs have done, we've seen technology introduced. We've seen drones being produced locally in Nigeria. We've seen several other military equipment being produced in Nigeria. We've seen partnerships between Nigeria
and Mr. Adamo. Yes. Yeah, my apologies. Let me bring in Mr. Onyekachi. Mr. Onyekachi, in addition to how you want to interpret this, I read a write-up somewhere that raised some suspicion about ideological rift, where the government and the people around the president are more conciliatory in their approach to tackling some of these elements, while the hierarchy of the military then was more of, these are enemies of state, let's crush them as much as possible. And given the fact that what they consider maybe discontent within the populace, especially what is playing out in the political space in the north, the strong stance of the former Chief of Defense Staff may have perhaps affected, possibly would have affected the ability of the government to be able to, win over that part of the country if he continues his harsh stance on that. That is, these are within the conjectural speculation, but these are things that are out there, people are talking about. What do you make of all of this, between ideological rift of approaching these enemies of state through this negotiation and peace talks as against force that is suspected to be one of the reasons, or these are just talks around?
Yeah, thanks, Jeffrey. I do think that Nigerians will have a propensity to over-elaborate on issues that perhaps should not be front-burner issues. I don't want to go into the speculations or matters that typically no state will come out and say boldly, XYZ may have happened or XYZ may have happened. I think we need to look at, maybe cast your mind back to the interview granted by former Chief of Defense Staff Musa to Al Jazeera. It's a good point of reference to some of the underlying issues. And we miss sometimes what we should be focusing on. The bulk of the issues, because before a coup would take place, there has to be internal and external collaboration. There has to be sufficient interest. The question is whose interest would be best served if Nigeria is destabilized, and what are the current undertones of events within the international sphere. If you've been looking and noticing, there's been certain communication pushed out. It's all there in the open. For me, I always look at, Yoruba people say that, forgive my parable, I explain in English, that Ajekilale Omokularo. You say, what is the connection? That is, a witch has cried at night, a child dies in the morning, you cannot place the connection. So that's that on the issue of some of these things we are focusing on. That's not where the core issues are. On the issues of ideology, I think that we are approaching 2027. And if you do recall that sometime in 2014, as it were, the American government did posit that Nigeria may break up because of the way the politicking was going. I think that this election is almost shaping to becoming that. And some of us were getting worried that insecurity perhaps was becoming a major factor for political consideration, and that if care was not taken, we may snowball into the same level of insecurity we saw 2014. In fact, 2011 being the most keenly contested election where we had the most cases of violence deployed to destabilize other political factors. So if you look at incursion into the North Central, that for me was a major, it's been a major flashpoint. But to the point where these operators were beginning to gain a bridgehead within the North Central, making incursions further down, or southwest north, or south north south, into the Edo, Ondo, Kogi, Kwara axis, and then reports of some issues in northern Ugu. I think that was for me a major flashpoint, and I could understand if there's a need to change the service chief. The speak of sack of service chief, I think it's a bit of a disservice and quite disrespectful to the men and officers who served all their lives. Section 130 grants the president the right and the power to remove service chiefs for good reasons, for no reasons, for whatever he thinks is best for his own administration. So again, you look at terms of service, they've done at least minimum 2 years. It must even be 2 years. They can be there 3 months and they can be changed. What I think is most important is that the president has acted out of his own prerogative to make these changes. And lastly, to the point on ethnic connection to the changes, you look at Niger, the country Niger. Basum, who was 5% Arab, had a chief of army staff who was 55% Hausa origin. When he was removed, the coup was called a popular coup. If we think that a coup is the reason for this change, then I think we need to look again. Because 2015 to 2021, then President Buhari had 100% Hausa Fulani heads of service chiefs, 100%. The next change he made, he retained 50% Hausa Fulani service chiefs, and then 25% to the south-south, 25% to the southwest. And then he made his next change. So if this were to secure this administration, the chief of army staff, on a very clear point, is the most powerful. I need to be very nuanced because he's the one that has the men on the ground. The chief of army staff is where the weight really is. The chief of defense staff is just a policy strategy person. As Dr. Kabir Adamudi say, perhaps they can't think so much of strategy, maybe just provide leadership and governance over the different arms. So if this were about protecting the administration, if I were president, I'll be very clear. The chief of army staff would be Yoruba, and heaven would not fall. And the chief of defense staff would also be Yoruba. But so for me, I think that if you look at the appointment, it's well balanced. Every geopolitical zone is represented for the first time in a long time, and there is balance. So I don't think that this is about regime protection, because the facts on this thing doesn't really support it. And if so, that the president feels that that is the way you should go, remember, is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Section 130 gives him that power to determine the composition of service chiefs. So it's not about the ideology, though I do think that General Musa, I mean, kudos to him. He's very clear-eyed, very clear-minded, very thorough professional. Perhaps the problem in this Nigeria is that if you speak truth to power, and if you're a bit too frank, then you touch on the ego of people with small minds. General Musa, fine gentleman, made good progress. The stats are there. We're making good progress. The only problem was that North Central coming down south was becoming an issue. Even on the international space, you could see his foreign trips, his articulation, very clear. He's one of the few CDSs, for me, who speak, carried weight and carried depth. Even same thing with General Rabo. So again, you can see that these are all political issues. These are not the main issues.
Right.
The major issue is that Nigeria is currently undergoing a major transformation. Just yesterday, we were removed from the illicit trade bracket. You've seen the GDP numbers. You've seen our foreign reserve. You've seen the upward swing. Even in the FDI, the macroeconomic parameters are good.
Let's take it to
Nigeria is becoming
Dr.
more
Kabiru
healthy.
now.
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, let's take it to Dr. Kabiru now. One discomforting thing about the appointment of new service chiefs is the event that preceded it, and many have talked about the explanation provided by the military about those alleged coup plotters, that there was nothing like a coup. Indeed, what happened was that they failed their military exams. That explanation has been said to be unacceptable. But if we weigh down against that, against a backdrop of, the past administration under which an alleged coup plot was also dismissed, can we then begin to look, more closely at the military and ask if there are concerns of a disaffection with, the democratically elected government within the military? Dr. Adamu, I'd like you to respond to this.
No, definitely there are disaffections within the military, but whether those disaffections have, metastasized to a point where they would, allow or encourage officers who have sworn to protect the Constitution to now do contrary is what we are not sure. There are so many elements that come to play before a coup occurs. There is usually, a sponsor. In most instances, there are foreign, countries or individuals or interests that will be involved. So it's not just that grievance. There will be so many other components. And I must say, with all sense of responsibility, that we can never exclude the possibility of that within the Nigerian space for a lot of reasons. Like I mentioned earlier on, it is when you speak to our soldiers on the front line, there is a lot of grievance. A lot. I gave you an example when I spoke about the fact that a significant number of them are still moving around in light-skinned vehicles that are not protected. They are feeding, their allowances, their rotation. And then, of course, if you also come to the headquarters, there are also a lot of grievances. What the former administration did in terms of elongating the service tenure of the then service chiefs has created a top-heavy hierarchy where the number of generals, if I'm right at the moment, we're speaking of about 300 generals in a military strength of about 250. So that is way above what should have been. And so there are grievances here and there. Sometimes appointments are not based on merit. Individuals are being posted to certain places and all of that. So again, those grievances are there. But for those grievances to move from grievances to an attempt to, do the very thing you've sworn you wouldn't do, so many other factors would come into play. And unfortunately, I don't think this is the space to discuss all of that. We also haven't seen any indicator to suggest that some of those factors have come together.
Mr. Adekoya, in reaction to this, perhaps if you have alternative thoughts, but if you do align, do you then see a disconnect of the democratically elected government? Perhaps they're insensitive to the needs, the grievances of the military. And doesn't that contrast over time with the aggregation of the huge budgets that have been allocated to defense?
Bukola, I think that the mere fact that this matter of an alleged coup is what we have been discussing for the last 3-4 days, for me, suggests that we're giving oxygen to a matter that may be a non-issue. And the problem I have with foreign influence operations is that when you are under such an operation, you may not even know that, that's part of what you're doing. So I think that we need to very quickly drop this non-issue. There's a non-issue really on this matter of alleged coup or grievance. There's grievance. Even you in Channels Television, I'm not sure you are happy with your pay and your total take-home package. Even in my office, we have over 2,000 staff. I'm sure that 1 or 2 people would be wishing and wanting more. So those are non-issues, really. Every organization will face 1 or 2 or 3 of those issues. Remember, I keep saying that Nigeria is like a man who has 37 wives and doesn't have the wherewithal to take care of those 37 wives and their children and run the household. So there are issues of resource. And quite frankly, there's an opinion piece I'm putting out, I think today to Wednesday, to talk about the fact that we should look again at the Constitution, the devolution of powers. We're sounding like a broken record. Imagine what we've been talking about. We're talking about the military. Nigeria has over 20-something agencies responsible for security. The military has only one fraction of its responsibility that has to do with internal security, and that's in the pursuit and support of the lead agencies for internal security. How can we be discussing in a democracy issues of internal security and we're wrapping our heads around solely the military? It shows you that fundamentally there's a big-seated problem. Somebody once asked, what impetus will the new service chiefs bring? What will change? And my answer is nothing. When these new service chiefs were brought on board, I was very clear in saying that the issues are beyond the decorated officers who we tasked with leading those agencies. Kabir Adamu has mentioned issues of equipment. I mean, DICON is supposed to produce munitions for the Nigerian army and the Nigerian military. DICON cannot meet that requirement. We can't even produce sufficient bullets that we need internally. You are talking about inefficiencies in security. Yes, that's because everybody gives the governors a free pass. But every state has a state security vote. There's been the DSS report of an alleged operation by ISWAP in Ondo. Yes, we had a similar case sometime in 3 years ago, I think it's 2022, when there was an Owa attack on a church, and then they said it was DSS. They said it was ISWAP. Now that that alert has come up, what is the state government going to be doing? What conversations will they be having at the State Security Council? So what initiatives, what will be happening? These service chiefs can't do nothing beyond, the usual things they are doing. The military has operation in over 30 states. How much can they really do? And, myself and Kabir were at a symposium in Abuja where we were joking. I was joking and saying, listen, the military needs the police more than the police needs the military, and the police needs the military. And then even every one of us in private security, we need one another because it's one big security industry, whether public or private sector. One arm of this sector cannot do it alone. So if the issues here are issues of insecurity,
all right.
What is this? Sorry, let me just land on this point.
Okay.
The elements we are fighting want to create a state within a state. So there's an insurgent element in it. The military can confront that. There's a terrorism element, the police should be able to deal with that. There's transnational crime, there's Interpol, there's police. So there are there's even the DSS, there's the NIA, there's the DMI. So there are other elements of force that we have that should be able to deal with these issues beyond the military. So I'm saying, my point is, we should be mindful of the conversations we are having. Perhaps there's always an operation somewhere. Perhaps these are the conversations they want us to have to create a sense of instability. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
My sincere apologies. I thought you were done. Not as if nobody wants coup. So for the record, we're not in support of any coup. But if there's something that almost shook up our system, we will talk about it. So that
there is
nothing
happen. There is nothing.
Mr. Adekoya, you don't know everything, so just calm down first. It's a conversation that we're having. There were rumors about some people wanting to upset what we've suffered to build. And we heard that those were being questioned. The DHQ has come to say, no, it's not true. So we stay with the DHQ, but we cannot lose sight that this is the sub-Saharan Africa and we know things can play out. Whether it's external or internal, it's none of our business. Our job is to protect that.
Let's just say that we cannot discuss certain things.
Yes, of course. That's why I'm saying let's not totally dismiss things. Of course, we can't mainstream everything here because it's security issues. So it's important we're sensitive to all of this. But let me take your last thought on Dr. Adamu and Mr. Adekoya, one minute each. If we, going forward as a people, and looking at the military, what exactly should we be focusing on to make sure that these men who have done their best to offer their lives, because that's why I see the military, the police, and all of these guys, offer their lives to secure us and preserve our sovereignty. What can we do to ensure that, yes, we may not satisfy everything, to make sure that they perform optimally? If you can give like 3 bullet points, Mr. Adamu and Mr. Kabiro, Mr. Adekoya. Let me start with Dr. Adamu.
All right, thank you. In simple terms, allow them to remain professional. I'm not a kid. I don't want to, pretend that I'm not aware there is a political angle to appointments and there is a political angle to expectations from, all the elements. There are 29 ministries, departments, and agencies that are involved in security, and each of them has a mandate. In the case of the military, the mandate is spelled out in Section 217 of our Constitution. So allow them to remain professional and on their side too, and this is a call to these new service chiefs, do everything possible to remain professional and don't get involved in the political activities that are ongoing on. Because at the end of the day, it is the institution that matters. If you ridicule the institution, that is what history would remember you. And we're remembering CG Musa for his professionalism, for the legacy that he has left behind.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adamo. Mr. Adekoya, so your last take. I like the last word that Dr. Adamo used, so that we don't ridicule this institution. That's what we're here to protect.
No, for me, I'd like to thank the outgoing service chiefs for their service. Welcome them also to the private security industry. Security is one space where you never go out of value. I'm wishing them the best of endeavors. I do wish the new service chiefs all the best, and I ask Nigerians to join hands in the effort to protect our democracy, to provide support, to speak to the people we put in the House of Representatives and the Senate to ensure that our fighting men, wherever they may be, are given the best of support, best of equipment. And we pray the best of outcomes for Nigeria, always.
Gentlemen, I must thank you both so much. Quite intelligent take you brought to the fore. And I wanted your advice to politicians, but Dr. Adamo has done that. Let politicians leave our security architecture as much as possible. However that is interpreted, I'm sure both of you understand, as we can't speak everything on TV. But I must thank you, Dr. Kabiru Adamo, MD Beacon Security and Intelligence Limited, as well as Mr. Ekaje Adekoya. Thank you so much, security consultant as well. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it. We'll call you back again for another conversation, as you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll now switch gears to talking politics. Opposition politics will be in focus in just a moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. So it's time to talk politics, and this is one part, where we're always, enthusiastic, because it gives all of the happenings give us a major talking points on the program, and in fact offset. So we're focusing on opposition politics. It appears that many times the main opposition party now, debatably so now, each time they take one step forward, something happens and it's as if they take two steps backward. So now that the PDP, one faction of the PDP or one group of the PDP has resolved to hold its national convention next month, and indeed one championing that cause is the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, who has said, hold me responsible if this does not happen. There are proposals amid all of that for a new national chairman, for which northern elders in the party have decided it will be zoned to Nigeria's north. So names are popping up, but it appears as if there is a disagreement that is trailing that as well within the rank and file of the PDP. So what's the implication of this for the national convention of the party that is coming up next month? Will PDP make progress, or has the party exited that stage where there can be hope for, or any hope for, the revival of the party? These are key issues that we're reviewing this morning on the program, but not forgetting also that contention at the courts on whether this national convention slated for November 8 should hold in the first place. So we're going to be having all of that questions put through our guest today on the program, who joins us virtually. Let's welcome Honorable Ghana. Yes, indeed. Honorable Joshua Ghana is a member representing Lavon Mokwa Dati Federal Constituency of Niger State. And he's also the Chairman House Committee on Power. Thank you for joining us, Honorable Ghana, on the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
So let me start by asking, based on the subjects that we used to set the tone, where are you on the proposal for the appointment of the new national chairman to come from the Northwest. There's a particular name that has come up, Mr. Turaki from the North. Where are you in this one?
Thank you very much. Well, our party have various organs where such decisions are made, and we go to convention to debate on such decisions, and hopefully the right decision by the people and for the people and members of the party on the floor of voting of the National Convention will decide that this is the best way to go. Between the zones, they have already met in their various meetings and decided that the chairmanship should be zoned or micro-zoned, as we call it, to the Northwest. And the North Central, who would have agitated to say it must remain in the North Central, given that Dr. Ayu was the chairman at the time, have accepted that it goes to the Northwest at this time, given the next political rounds that we hope to go into. So, yes, they've decided on Tinubu Turaki SAN, but then that's not the final decision body. That is decision makers saying, if we go this way, one of the potential people that would like to see moving the party forward is in the person of Turaki SAN. But it doesn't stop and it doesn't negate all the people from that zone to come, because we have different groups. They can come and make their own submissions. And by the time they go to the party screening committee, if they are screened and allowed to go to convention, and then the voters will decide at convention. So it's not full and final. It's a decision taken by the Governors Forum and other party leaders to say this is the way to go, moving our party forward.
Honorable Ghana, there are issues that has been plaguing the party, and I want to bring it explicitly to you and what you think the party can do. One of the reasons why it appears to us that some Nigerians may not be taking the PDP seriously, besides the gale of defection, is the PDP's inability to hold itself to account and discipline itself. So I'll give you a simple example. And unfortunately, the names have to come up all the time. So I'm going to call names this time because it's part of the reasons why these issues are happening. And how do you think it can be handled? There is a trend of amorphous politics going on in the PDP. So there's Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister, who has contributed significantly to the PDP. We must not deny that. But he works with the APC government and will support the president in the coming election. He's not hiding that. But he's trying to call the shots for the PDP as far as the PDP is concerned. That's one hand of the amorphous politics that the PDP has not been able to find its way around. I don't know whether they don't know what to do. There's also the governor of Akwa Ibom State who has defected, Pastor Umoino, who in some of his remarks will say, look, he's not going to just let the PDP in his state just come and shock him. So his eyes are still there. So we also hear that there's an agitation by some caucus in the Southeast where they are saying that the nomination of a female woman leader is perhaps coming from the former PDP governor, who is now an APC governor, Peter Amba, who they feel like a APC governor is now trying to nominate candidate for woman leader for PDP. So you can see it's just I don't know what to use as a word, but you get a picture of what I'm trying to talk about. Members of PDP who are working for the APC, and members of APC who are still trying to control the PDP. How do you want to walk out of this? How is the PDP trying to walk out of this?
All right, we can't, if we look historically on how these, even the APC that came in to become the ruling party, it was by movements of leaders in PDP at a convention to go and strengthen the APC and bring in someone from the North at the time to become the president. And we all know the history of how that worked, that President Jonathan had to only do one term. And in order not to allow Nigerians suffer from the practices of some leaders, he decided to go back home and allow the new elected government to come into authority. And we have seen the performance of that government that led to the current one we are in now. Now, if is the movement of these decision leaders, they're forgetting that is the party's platform that gave them the opportunity in life to be flag bearers, to become whatever they became in the party, in their states, at the federal level, at the state level or local government level. All of them, you can see their political trajectory because the PDP gave them that platform. So forgetting the platform that brought you into leadership, forgetting the platform that are giving you the opportunity, and deciding to frustrate that platform for personal interest or personal gain is the indiscipline of individuals and not the party. And so, for me, where the party might have gone wrong is in the past, the party leadership appoints a disciplinary committee. And when things of party members happen like this, we submit those memos to the disciplinary committee, and they go into action and make recommendations that will be read out, and then they can enforce. So it's the same problem of Nigeria. We have good laws. We have the agencies, lack of enforcement. We have a good party, founded long ago before APC even ever emerged. APC doesn't have any roots. APC is just the making, once one or two men leave the APC, it's over. But the PDP has its organs and its roots. And because of how it's well rooted and it has allowed people to grow into their leadership, they are now playing games to hinder others to grow through that same system, which is uncalled for, which is sad. And we, the younger generation, are watching and we're saying these are the kind of things we will not allow when our own time comes.
But if you're
people forget that their time will come and pass.
But Honorable Ghana, if you're saying that those people who are, working to destabilize the party had benefited from the party, and it was the party that made them who they are today, and they've forgotten the past, are you demanding the same moral high ground and accountability from the managers of the leadership of your party? Some are saying they're beholden to certain people who are holding the party by the jugular, and they have compromised. So by extension, I'm asking, what is your assessment of the current leadership of the party, and how much of what it has done has contributed to the instability within the PDP today?
Okay, you see, majorly the focus has been on what is happening at the national level of the party. But if you go to our state chapters, local government chapters, they have obeyed the principles of the model the party has grown over the years. We have no problems at that level. Everybody knows it's the turn of another person. These are the people in leadership. It was done freely, it was done fairly, and all parties were carried along to come to that decision. So we don't have the problems at the local government. We're going to local government elections this week in my state, for instance, and our candidates are campaigning as we speak. No problem.
Honorable Ghana,
to the state ones.
Honorable Ghana, pardon me, you're not particularly answering my question.
Yes.
Let me be more pointed. What's your assessment of the Umar Damagum-led leadership approach and style of the party, and how much of what he has done in the last 1 year, 2 years has contributed to the instability of the party?
Well, I think if I want to talk directly, there were pointers that different leaders in that National Working Committee were controlled or loyal to certain players and decision makers. And because of protecting such interests, they seem to look weak in decision making. They seem to look weak in implementation. And it is clear, yes, you cannot hurt those that supported you to get somewhere. I didn't get to where I am because I'm Joshua Ghana. I got because the electorate trusted me to represent them. And so I'll do everything in my power not to hurt the electorate. So these leaders also don't want to hurt those who have supported them to get to where they are. But then there are principles of the office, there are principles and the laws of our party, there are manifestos, there are things that we must follow so that the party remains strong for the people and disciplined enough so that new entrants know that they'll be treated in fairness, in equity, and justice. And so, yes, it might look that way, and that's why we are going to the highest decision body of our party, which is the National Convention. The National Convention ground will help us to re-decide and re-elect people that we feel can take the party forward. And so, in my opinion, they have done the best they can within the space as an opposition party that was supported by decision makers and leaders to where they were. But now, we must go back to the principles to which PDP was founded. It's power to the people. Let the people who are delegates, who are representing we the poor in the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, decide who will be their leaders in the party moving forward.
All right, Honorable Ghana, so begin to wind down. Let me ask you a straight question. Do you see the PDP surviving 2027 two ways? Now, this convention is still a contentious issue, and sometimes when I look at what's happening in the PDP, it's amusing. The Supreme Court has made judgments about parties. There are only, the Supreme Court says if it has to do with leadership and membership of a political party, please don't come near our court. But if it has to do with nominations and all of that, Section 84, subsection 15 also, you can come to our court. But time and again, a politician will say, I'm holding on to a court judgment that says this, does that about my membership or the leadership. The same court that said don't come. So sometimes it's just a mess of a situation. So what do you make of the fate of the PDP in 2020? Do you think the PDP will be able to field a candidate for this election in 2027?
Yes, I feel very strongly that we'll be able to field candidates at all levels of the People's Democratic Party. It is even in the interest of the APC and for their own legitimacy to make sure that there are candidates in PDP to defeat. If they allow those that are going about trying to stop the PDP to be organized to get to it, Nigerians will revolt against APC-led government. The only way they can be legitimized is that PDP has 8 strong candidates in the field, and let's go and debate, let's go and campaign and bring the best out of all to come into leadership. But sir, I would like to say, the same way you think these great investors have invested in the party and must be consulted and be carried along, I am privileged to be from one of the founding families of the PDP. And I remember the days of G18, where I was a messenger boy, because in the dark days of the military, you couldn't use landlines to pass your information, so we had to pass information by hand. So I was one of those young boys that would drive his car, sent to another politician and with a handwritten note on the next location for a meeting. We have seen those founding fathers contributing their little 15 naira, 35 naira at that time to put up that fight against military rule and brought about civilian rule that many of us who have passed XYZ, whether president, whether local government chairman, came out of that struggle and the sweat of the little contributions of those leaders. The PDP allows every member to contribute to his party at the local, at our ward levels. People make contributions at our local government level. People make contributions, and that's how we fund our party. So when somebody comes as a big investor, it doesn't mean you, as you are investing in that organization, you become an owner of the organization. No, the owners are those that will still look at the issues, debate on the issues, and make things fair enough for everyone to come and play in. So we thank those who have invested in all of us very much in the party. They will always be part of the party and moving forward. but there are wills that we can never go in. Number one, we cannot go against the will of God. Number two, you cannot go against the will of the people. When the will of God and the will of the people go against any system, money will fail, investment will fail, and the will of God and the people will go forward. And so I use this platform to call the conscience of our leaders. We appreciate you. We're not throwing them away. They've invested. But these are the platforms that people like me and many others who Nigerians are looking forward to seeing at the polls. Don't remove it because of your personal aggrandizement or personal grievance. We have plenty bodies within our party for reconciliation to carry everyone along. Why are we going to the court and not going to the committees for reconciliation, where we can talk to ourselves and correct ourselves and apologize to ourselves and move forward together?
All right. And we hope that, the PDP will resort to that alternative means of reconciliation. But you talked about investment, and you thanked those who have invested in the party. But speaking of party funding now, there are other names that have come up, in the interest for the chairmanship position of the party at the national level. And some of those names are, besides Dr. Tanimu Turaki, there's also former Kaduna Governor Hamid McCarthy, there's also former Governor of Jigawa, Sule Lamido. Of these names, which do you think can stand up to the former governor of Rivers State, who is said to be the major financier of your party currently?
Okay, well, is there evidence anywhere that is the major funder of People's Democratic Party? That's my question one. Number two is that from the model is the sacrifices of each member that has been the business model of funding People's Democratic Party. So if you are well without and you give XYZ amount, it does not negate the small one that I contribute at my own party level. It's all these contributions that fund our party. But yes, we know some have held wealth and have higher offices and they have invested more. We appreciate it. It has not gone down. Some of those investments are the ones that gave me a platform to get elected. And I will never go against such persons or abuse such persons. They are our leaders in the party. But we're saying, if that is the highest investor that it takes the tone, that is not healthy for the People's Democratic Party. We will honor you, we will respect you, we will consult with you, we will carry you along, but please allow the system that brought you up by your contributions that you started as your little level before you came to your high level to continue so that every Nigerian can participate in our party. And so within the three people you have said, they have all been former, two of them have been former governors, one a former minister, and we have seen their performance. And if they're all from the Northwest, at the convention ground, we'll decide who's the best to lead us moving forward. And so, but people making it against former Governor Wike is not the issue. There are others who have given as much as he has, but are silent.
All right, Honorable.
There are others that are giving much more than he has done, and they're not saying anything, but I just believe that the principles that which brought them up in the party will thrive.
All right, Honorable, let's talk about, if we have time, we'll come back to politics. I wanted to make sure that we highlighted your chairmanship, your committee, that's as a chairman of the Committee on Power, just before we wrap up.
Point of order. I'm deputy chairman.
Okay, you're
chairman over me.
Yes,
I'm deputy chairman.
Okay, you're deputy chairman. Okay, thank you for that correction. So let's talk about the role that the legislature is playing to ensure that, because power is a critical infrastructure that is required. In fact, when they talk about the tripod of how development comes, infrastructure, production, and human capital development, power is at the center of infrastructure. Power infrastructure, as you would like to call it in this sense. But we've been bedeviled by what you know. the epileptic power supply. We've seen some improvement in certain areas, then we have all this band A, band B, band, all the bands. In your view and assessment, when committee members have conversation with the Ministry of Power and the people in charge of this sector, what exactly comes up as the biggest challenge, and how is the legislature doing to ensure that we scale up? We have installed capacity of over 13,000 megawatts. We're doing barely between 4 to 6 when we have a good day.
All right. Thank you. That's a very, very good question. I must say, as Parliament, where everybody knows about the Electricity Act 2023 that we passed, that allows and liberates the sector for other people to come in at different levels, at the state level and at the national level, to invest in the power sector and solve their problems. Electricity investment is very exorbitant. It's expensive. And so 1 budget year, 2 budget years cannot fund electricity. You must have an intervention model or probably loan to pay over time to invest in the power sector. Now, our major problem is transportation of power. And then, as they've praised the current administration of unifying the exchange rate, removing the fuel subsidy, we also desire in that sector to unify the denomination for payments in the power sector. And let me explain this. All of us that are metered pay in Naira for power. But if a gas turbine is being fueled by gas, the gas payments are in dollars. And so the same problem we're having in the exchange market that we try to unify, the same problem we have in subsidy, the sector for the petroleum industry that we try to unify, has not happened in the power sector. And so to pay for gas, you are taking there to go and bid for dollars to pay for your source of fuel. So you already started having a problem for stable supply of fuel to your gas-fired power stations. Number 2, the weakness of our national grids, transporting power from place of production of power to place of consumption of power. The transporter is very weak, which is our national grid. So it cannot go beyond what you have heard over the years. We don't go beyond a certain amount of power because we're hindered by the weakness of the power sector.
Yeah, Honorable, we're totally out of time. I must apologize. Of course, maybe today we brought you to talk politics today, but we're just there to chip this in. Maybe we'll bring you another time.
I'll give you the reality of what's happening.
Yes, I understand.
I can tell you.
No, it's okay. We're saying that we'll come another time to talk about your committee. That's what I mean. Not as if what you said is wrong.
Okay, I look forward to it. I look forward to it, yes. Thank you very much.
Speaking of which, there's also the oversight concern as well. So we look forward to that time in the future. Honorable Joshua Ghana is a member representing Lavun Mokwa Edati Federal Constituency of Niger State, and also the Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Power. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Indeed. And so from this point, we move on to financial and economic matters. What were the ingredients, or if you like, actions that took Nigeria off the FATF list as a Financial Action Task Force list? And what does this mean for subsequently investor sentiment and confidence? Stay with us for this next one. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's bring in the Director General of the Security and Exchange Commission, Dr. Emomotimi Agama. He joins us virtually. And we're talking about the issue around the being removed or exiting the grey list of the FATF. Doctor, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me this morning.
You are eyes and ears when it comes to Exchange Commission and the capital market in general. So I'm sure this came as a very good news for you. But for the general public, for the purpose of general reference, what does this mean for three sets of people: citizens, investors, and the government?
First and foremost, I must deliberately and intentionally to commend Mr. President for foresight, for purposeful leadership, and because this is all about being intentional at doing something. The FATF grade list issue had been a major debacle in our financial system. And for a president to be purposeful in making sure we get out of this, it is something that we are excited about as the SEC. And of course, you are aware that Mr. President signed into law the ISA 2025 in March, which particularly was a major ingredient for our exit of the FATF grey list. But coming back to your question, it has been a lot of work, a lot of purposeful work, conscientiousness, right from the Honorable Minister for Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, the CME, the Coordinating Minister for the Economy, the Director of the NFIU, the ONSA, the CBN, the EFCC, and indeed the SEC, because we play a very major part in all of this. But your question is clear. What does it mean after all of the euphoria of this exit? It means so much for us in the capital market. It means so much for us in the financial system. And that is to say, it brings about something that we'll be craving for: investor confidence. The release of Nigeria from the FATF grey list, and it means that investors' confidence will be boosted. That is to say, the listing from that grey list, sends a very strong signal to investors and trading partners that Nigeria has made significant progress in strengthening its anti-money laundering and countering and financing of terrorism regulations. And that is very, very significant in the space of financial investment. So for the ordinary Nigerians, for Nigerians as a whole, this is a welcome call to new investment into our economy and boosting of the economy in terms of productivity, because of course FDIs will come. And that's not all that it brings to the table. It also brings, because over time Nigerians have been seen to be involved in anti-money laundering deals, and so people have been wary about coming to invest in Nigeria. These has also brought about some costs, and that cost has been very, very prohibitive. With the release from the FATF grey list, that cost will certainly now reduce, because people will not now see Nigeria the way they used to see Nigeria. And that is also very, very critical. It is beneficial to the Nigerians, citizens of this country, and it's beneficial to government because of the new inflow of FDIs and indeed portfolio investment into the Nigerian economy. So clearly, this is very critical for our growth, because with new investment into the Nigerian economy, what will happen is that there will be increased productivity. Our general acceptability in the International Committee of Nations will be fundamentally fantastic. And I can tell you, I speak right away from Spain, where I'm attending the IOSCO board meeting. The IOSCO is the International Organization of Securities Commission, where Nigeria is represented, and I am on that board. That speaks volume, because it tells the world that Nigeria is actually ready for business. And with a transparent relationship in the financial community, it means that we can speak to anybody, eyeball to eyeball, letting them know that we are playing by the best rules that is available, that all that we need to do is get them in with our regulations, with our rules, and with the purposeful presidential leadership, and we are there for the game.
And that's, cheery to note that Nigeria has a seat on such tables where you are in Spain. But let's understand how we got here. What are the identifiable operational governance reforms that Nigeria put in place that got us off the grey list? Because the FATF is saying that Nigeria demonstrated political will to achieve full compliance with beneficial ownership register, improving corporate transparency. So what are the things that you saw in reforms of governance that got us here?
Can't stop praising Mr. President because it's purposeful leadership, it is principled leadership, it is intentional leadership. I mean, as Mr. President has demonstrated that in no small way. Getting to lead all of us who are part of this very noble process is one thing that is important, and it is political will. Strong political will, which Mr. President has shown. And of course, all of the ministers involved, Attorney General of the Federation, the coordinating ministers of the economy, and of course the ONSA, the EFCC, the CBN, the customs, all of the individuals involved and the institutions involved has done one thing: being purposeful and following the rules. Because what's important about AML, CFT positions is reporting. Being conscientious about reporting, getting the people to report their financial transactions as at when due, and making sure that when they do not report, there is an enforcement action, there is a sanction, that actually is meted on those that do not conform. These are very, very important actions that we are taking in Nigeria, and because of those actions, the FATF has seen that Nigeria as a country has political leadership that has the willingness to make sure that citizens do this, and that is very, very critical. That sign that was shown to the international community is actually one of the things that has endeared us to the international community and indeed FATF for the release of this. And this was coordinated actually by the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, which is the NFIU, and of course bringing every other person together, under this able leadership of Mr. President. So we are very happy that we have been able to do this. But one thing that's also important is not about doing this, it's about keep doing it, because it does not stop with just getting out of the list. It continues with continuous compliance, continuous education, and getting people to understand that compliance is not a difficult thing. All you need to do is get it done, and once you get it done, you provide that information, which for us in the capital market is critical. Disclosure is critical in what we do, and so everyone who is involved, knowing the rules, as we will continue to educate them, must follow the rules. And as we follow the rules, we as regulators will also continue to guide them. We will also continue to sanction those that do not follow the rules, just to meet with our standards and the standards we have set for ourselves even now.
Yeah, Dr. Gama, this is a bright spot in our country's recent history, which is why we're highlighting this. So I'd like you to talk about sustainability as far as this is concerned. I know that countries like South Africa, Mozambique, and Burkina Faso, Nigeria, 4 of the countries that have exited that list, that because of some of the reforms and action being taken by government, so that investor confidence is boosted, and we've seen some of the rallies as far as the NGX is concerned. And we know that FPIs are hot money and can come and go, but at least it's getting us those inflows to boost our FX and investment in the country. But where I'm going to with this is, how do we build on this so that we don't slip yet again?
So if you again, because this are very important questions, when we speak to policies like this, we speak more about sustainability, and that's why I said continuous compliance. But if you understand Mr. President and the appointees of Mr. President to key financial positions in this country, you understand that they are methodically done. And because they are methodically done, we're all in this process to getting us out of this. We certainly would not want to claw back. And so it is our responsibilities as heads of MDAs, as heads of institutions, including even the minister, to make sure that we continue to build upon the success and the progress that we have made. It is our commitment. We definitely are enjoying and savoring the success of this effort. We certainly will not want to go back. And so for us, and I believe clearly, and I can speak for everyone that was involved in this process, that commitment is the name of the game. And we'll continue to be committed, making sure we also educate people about what it is so that we do not fall back into the state we were. None of us will ever want to go through the process we went through to get here, so we must try and maintain what we had done. And maintaining it is easier because maintaining it means keeping to the right and moving the right way forward.
And so it appears that there may still be more work to be done in terms of fiscal transparency. There are reports that about 500 agencies of government still have opaque budgets, as they do not, encourage transparency, openness of their budgeting and recruiting systems. So when issues like this remain back home, are they going to help us to retain our position on that list? And what changes need to be done such that there'll be more transparency in government agencies as well, such that we can retain the position that we have achieved already with the exit from the list?
I mean, we're not Africans and we're Nigerians. And the proverb goes, it is the morning that determines the evening. This is our morning. If our morning is this good, we believe that our evening also will be better. I say again, for the often time, this is achieved by the intentionality and strong will of Mr. President, and so we would not fail him. As long as we remain here and appointees of his government, we have a responsibility to make sure we drive that point home. And what does that mean? For every area that we believe we need to improve, we will definitely take it up. And for the man we know to be our president, he will definitely give us the support that is needed to clear the road into making sure sustainability is something that becomes our culture. And so we are not afraid, we're not worried. We're not worried because we are committed to serving the people. We are committed to serving this government. We are committed to serving Nigeria and making sure Nigeria is the destination point for investment the world over. And so we're very happy to do that work because that is why we have been appointed to do that work.
Let's also expand the conversation a little bit beyond getting off that grey list. Let's talk about the ISA 2025. And one of the highlights of the ISA was the definition of securities. But I know for, the CBN, for instance, it's management of that particular space when it comes to digital assets, which has now been included, I stand to be corrected now, as part of securities under certain conditions. So we know that there are certain licenses, some of these perhaps brokers who do some of the businesses abroad that they call them, I think, outside our borders, I've forgotten the exact term to use now, who deal in cryptocurrency. The CBN is always very careful to say, look, we may not be able, we don't outrightly ban anything, but they restrict, certain kinds of activities within the financial system because of speculators and all of that. I want you to help us reconcile some of the action of the ISA as against the position of the CBN when it comes to the digital asset space.
So thank you. You're aware that is one of my greatest interests, the digital space, because it is the future of our country, it's the future of money, it's the future of regulation, it's the future of the financial system. So we can't be left behind, around, dealing with the regulation of that space. But speaking to Central Bank of Nigeria, I can tell you clearly, without equivocation, that we have had a very good relationship with the central bank regarding the regulation of digital assets. You recall that prior to this government, the regulation of digital assets was banned, as it were, specifically cryptocurrency in the banking system. But on the 23rd day of December 2023, the CBN reversed that policy with a circular. It is out there in the open. However, as we do that, we have to be cautious, and it's only caution that is being, played here. It's not about, any deliberate refusal to do anything. No, not at all. It's caution, and we are in discussion with the CBN because the law, rightly said, the ISA 2025 specifically speaks to the SEC being the regulator of digital assets. And digital assets goes beyond cryptocurrency, stable coins, of course, and other digital asset space, NFTs, and the rest of them. And we ever since had provided clarity regarding that space. In as much as people are very anxious to get it moving the way they want to get it to move, it's important that we understand the sovereignty implications and national economic implications of all of this. And that is why we are careful about really getting all blown out in the entire system. But what has happened is that there's been a lot of discussions between the securities agencies, the central bank, the EFCC, ONSA, and everyone that is involved. Because what we are doing is providing a background, a playground that will be sustainable. Like you mentioned earlier, even in the previous discussion, sustainability is the key. I will do everything to make sure that we are protected. One of the cardinal responsibilities of the SEC, as enshrined in the ISA 2025, is investor protection and market development. So, having gotten that into the law and been signed by Mr. President is important, and we do everything in collaboration with other agencies to making sure that this is done. What we also will do, as always, is to educate each other because it is only when we cooperate and collaborate that we make success of anything that we do. And especially when it speaks to issues of national interest, it is important that collaboration and cooperation becomes the order of the day in making sure that we all achieve the same purpose, making sure that our economy is better, making sure that our youths are, engaged, making sure that they're comfortable. There's clarity, in all that we do.
All right, Doctor, thank you so much. We're going to still have you in the future, especially when it comes to digital assets. And you talk about all this speculative and unlicensed channel and how we can make the most, because places like America are moving ahead and trying to do the best we can. So we totally agree with you that we must not miss out on the future because it's a big deal. I saw some numbers that are coming in as far as that is concerned the last 1 year. And the participation is low, but the numbers look significant. But we must thank you, Dr. Momotumi Agama, DG, Security and Exchange Commission, and have a good conference. We're expecting you back soon.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate this call.
Very constructive and informative conversation. We hope that space is also strengthened, to protect investors against security threats, hackers, and all of that. But we promise to bring the DG back on the program. As we wind down, hopefully we'll have that conversation with Owerri residents perhaps tomorrow. They're unable to make it at this point in time. But there is also a traffic advisory coming from that route for those who are headed inward the island on Lagos, on the Third Mainland Bridge. There are reports that the youths in that area are planning a protest. So this is a traffic advisory. If you're traveling inward Lagos Island, please be advised you may need to plan your movement in a wise manner such that you don't get stuck in traffic. But we hope that security agents will be deployed to ensure law and order is maintained even while that goes on. But here's where we touch down.
Yeah, just before we touch down, we're learning of a building collapse somewhere around 54 Cole Street Cemetery bus stop by UBA Bank Oyigbo in Lagos. This is coming from the government casualty. We understand 15 adults, 17 male, 4 female, and then 4 children have been rescued with varying degrees of injury and have been taken to FMC, Abuja Meta and General Hospital in Lagos Island. That's coming from the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service. We understand that incident occurred earlier this morning, where they arrived at about midnight or so to put the situation under control. So the good news so far is that no deaths recorded, but injuries have been sustained by 15 persons, and people are still trapped, perhaps under that rubble. So 15 persons so far have been rescued, 7 male, 4 female, and 4 children. We pray that everybody will be rescued, and nothing that has to do with recovery of bodies will be done.
Indeed, that's our prayer. And so here's where we touch down on the program for today, the very first for the week, and it promises to be hopefully a week of good stories. So thank you for watching. Sunrise Daily is up next. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Jeffrey Ozama. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.